Yeah. One of the things that's always, most people do when they start doing any sort of grappling or wrestling, it feels like you should go around here and hook. Okay, this isn't great because now you're attached to the person underneath. He can grab my hands and he can then start rolling. So just go on, roll me. Boom. To get top position. Yeah, and like most grappling, it feels like we should be just grabbing and hugging and squeezing and doing this kind of thing. We want to have our hands kind of on the top. We never want sort of more than one hand wrapped around because it's always going to be easier for him to start doing these easy rolls. So the first thing we're going to do is a bit of a drill. Alright, so I'm going to try and keep top pressure on with using my chest. Okay, so my chest is the point of contact to Jay's back. Jay's going to do me a favour and just ball up a little bit more. Okay, so from here, I'll put my hands behind my bottom. If you're not sure to start off with, just have your hands floating. And I'm just going to move around. Okay, so I've gone from sprawl top, yeah, to turtle hip, to hip on hip. Okay. So, can anyone guess what it's hip on it? That's it, exactly.
It's where your toes are.
Yeah, so we're just going to use those two as that position, so come back on. Yeah, back to sprawl top, hip on hip. Okay, and you're going to try and do this without falling off. And you're just going to keep switching like a pendulum, yeah, for a minute, trying to stay on top. Do it nice and slow. You'll find that we've now got into a position where we defended the takedown and we've got a really good position. So once we go hip on hip, we're winning. we're having a good time because it's a lot easier for me now to hit my opponent. So as I get to here, and I go to hip on hip position, it's a lot easier to start striking. You know, it's a lot easier to get into better positions like back control or just rest. You know, and this is key. You know, you need to have certain spots where you can rest. Like I feel pretty comfortable in this position where even if he starts exploding and moving out, I can just follow his hip and strike him and just chill out. It's not always that easy though to get round and take the back, okay? Because he's got opportunities to reverse the position or just stop me from going around. So if I start going around to this side, yeah, and I don't do anything with his hands, as I start coming round, he brings his arm up, and you see how this hand's underneath? Yeah. So this is actually a wrestling move called a flare. So he now can start driving me into a side control position. So before we start going round to take the back, we need to do something with the hand, okay? We need to stop that hand being able to shoot up and block my ability to take the back, okay? So from here, all I'm gonna do, block that hand, yeah? It doesn't always work, and sometimes some guys find a way to grab a leg or do something, but it works more efficiently than doing nothing. So I'm just going to block. If I can push it in, great, but I don't rely on that. I just need to stop his ability to take his hand up and block my path over to the hip. So here and round. Okay, so this is the drill now. So you see how my hands are floating? I haven't attached, have I? Yeah, even if his neck's there, I'm not doing anything at the moment. I want to take his back. So block here. This hand's not really doing anything at the moment because it needs to come around. Okay, but block and round. Okay, so that's our first move. So it's transition from sprawl top to hip on hip.
And we're going knee down. Your right knee's down alongside his hip on hip.
Yeah, so we can go that head whatever knee. That's it. So what I feel comfortable doing, it doesn't matter what happens with my legs, but this is my comfortable position. Because I want to put pressure in on the hip, which is what we're going to talk about. But anytime I'm here and I'm not putting some pressure on his hip, he's able to move. So he can sit out, he can start doing lots of different stuff. If I get my hip in, break his posture a little bit. Yeah, so it does make it feel a little harder to do stuff. Makes it easier for me to break his posture with hip drags and things like that. So get to that position and just start having a feel of pushing his hip into the bottom person's hip. And then we'll talk about that, there's loads of cool stuff. Give it a go, 1, 2, 3. Just to kind of give us a little bit of an idea of some of the things that we can do in this position. I don't often use this, but it's a good way to kind of learn how to use your weight, how to manipulate somebody and move someone into a different position. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side to block the hip, come come round. Again, I could be striking in this position. One of the things that we need to be really conscious of when we're striking, there's some areas we're not allowed to hit. So we're not allowed to hit, if you imagine, Jay's, we've got a mohawk, yeah, so it's the back of the mohawk and then across the ear lines. As long as I hit Jay's ear, yeah, that's classed as illegal striking. If you go behind the ear, that's illegal. Yeah, so that's where you could end up losing points or get disqualified in the fight. So when we're hitting and we're thinking about it, aim for the ear, that's why you get these lovely little things. Okay, so I'm in here, or I'm just, you know, I'm not really happy with the position, or I'm worried that Jay's going to explode up. We're going to go across the face, try and do this as nice as you can, and grab the opposite arm. Okay, so my left arm's going across the face. Jay's just won a competition with a face bar at the weekend. Won a fight with a face bar. So I'm making him face this way. This hand goes underneath and connects to the same hand. Okay, and then from this position, I'm just going to pull the arm in, but then drive my chest. And this is where we learn about pressure and moving people with our chest and stuff. So as I pull, start pushing them with my chest, end up in side control. Okay. The arms are going to get tied up a little bit, so especially if you really, you're bigger than the person you're working with, go nice and steady. But as the drill, we shot in, sprawled out, block the arm, come round, arm across the face, underneath, pull into side control. And this is your first experience of being squished as well. Excellent. Give it a go. 1, 2, 3, 4. What I'm not doing is I'm not putting my arm underneath the neck or the chin. Okay, so I'm going to cross the face line. So the bar of my arm is going across the ear, jaw, to make the person turn the other way. Okay. Do it nice and steady. It sucks a little, but it's not going to be painful as long as we kind of chill out with it. So here, you see how he can't take his head that way. Okay, so when I go underneath, this is probably going to go a little bit lower, but this is keeping his head facing the other way. As I then, and again, all this is nice and graceful, nice and steady. Pull, chest, and then just let the, just release the pressure on the neck as they start rolling over. Okay, so again, this is our introduction to being squished a little bit, but also having our head manipulated. So this is some of the mean stuff. All right, give it a go. 1, 2, 3, to the hip. Yeah, this time I want to be able to start looking at getting into a position where I can get my hooks into back control. So we're going to do something slightly different. This is also a drill which we use quite a bit, called star drill 2. Yes, there's a star drill 1, okay, just before you start asking the question. So I'm going to switch my knees out. I'll change the position in a second, but the important bit on this is what I do with this back leg. So the leg that's currently on hip, alright? So I'm going to put this knee that's up into the same position where my hip knee is. So I'm going to go there, and then come round into this position. Alright? Magic, isn't it? So hip on hip. So this knee goes to here. I turn a little bit, and then I bring this leg across. Okay. Once we're in this position, we're going to go to what's called frog ride. Yeah. And it's easy to start moving between the positions. Or it is if we've done this like 300 times. Okay, so knee, up, over, looking over to yonder. Frog ride. So my knees are pinching, my feet can stay on the mat for now, but ideally you want your feet off the mat. Okay, and then I switch into this position like an L. Do you want to go at that, or do you want to try again? We can do this, can't we? Give it a go. 1, 2. Oh, I blocked his ability to grab my legs by putting my hip down towards the mat. I block the side off that I want to go to, come round, a little bit of pressure on the hip, okay? And now switch to my L shape, this knee replaces this knee and comes over, okay? From this position, we can actually use the heel to drag us up into a frog ride position. Okay, if you can get used to kind of having your feet off, that's great. Just so now for balance, that's okay. Okay, switch to your L shape. Hip on hip. go back the other way. Just like that. You know, shopping in your head, I'm not sure. HDMI cables. Okay, so where I'm the bottom person now, so I've gone in, I've shot in, and it's sprawled out on top of me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the sit through, which is what we've just practiced today. Okay, so hand, foot. Because my head's on this side, this is the logical way to sit through. If I sit through this way, all of Jason's weight's on top of my neck and shoulders, and it's going to be very difficult. So, like we did in the Poltergeist movie, head to the light. Yeah, so here, foot, jazz hands. Okay, so he puts a bit more weight on. I might have to do something called framing a little bit and posting. So here, jazz hands. Now the next bit, and this is why this is the important, like, to have in this position, is going to come through, and now I'm out and out. Now I'm on hip. Okay, thanks. You listened well, didn't you, mate? I liked it when someone, oh, this is amazing. And I was like, yeah, we were doing this. We got this. So, if the head starts in the middle, pick a side. Post, out, jazz hands, and then hip on hip. Okay? Let's give it a go. 1, 2, 3. Did that make sense? Yeah, and I think this is probably a drill for home, because this is something you can do in your front room. Just practice kind of someone sprawl on top of your head. Pick a side, yeah, and if you're looking out to your right side, it's your left leg that's going to go through. Okay, so post, foot up in this position. This is in catch wrestling, it's called the sprag. I still call it sprag because I think it's a fun word. This hand stays nice and high, ready for our jazz hands. Sit through, and jazz hands will look up. And then you can go back, head goes out to the left, which means your right leg's going to go through, sprag. And you can make it like a nice little mobility drill as well. So something to have a think about when you're at home. Right, so Jake's on top, into sprawl position. That can be one where people are not a massive fan of, and he might start moving as well, which kind of kills it a little bit. But I'm going to do the same thing and start creating a little bit of a base. Okay, so from this position, I'm going to sit into him. That's Ben, you said don't sit into him. That's right, but we're going to do it in this occasion because I want to get guard. Okay, so it's the opposite direction. I've still got to be careful with my neck and get my head out, because it just makes it a lot easier once you do get into a guard position. So I'm going to sprag on the opposite side. Yeah, and now I'm going to sit in to guard. Okay, so Jay's going to keep his weight on top of me and get a little tighter. Oh shit. So here, in, and trying to pull some form of guard. This is desperation. If you're doing this, it's usually because every time you sit out, you drag your hip down and you end up in a worse position. We just need to slow the game down, or we want to play guard. Okay, so it's just the opposite way of doing stuff. So sprawls on top, still clear the head. Yeah, you don't want your head underneath doing this because it's still going to create the same amount of pressure as we did on the first one. Sit up, yeah, and sometimes you might not even get your legs round. It might be just a case of doing something like this, yeah, or controlling one leg, which we call half guard. Doesn't really matter, but start nice and light, but then progressively put a bit more weight on. Make sure you clear your head. Yeah, before we do either of these, get your head from underneath that person. Give it a go. 1, 2, 3. What we're going to do is we're going to do a sprawl top, hip on hip, and then when we get to hip on hip position, the person underneath is trying to get out. Okay, so here we're not sparring. Now we're sparring. So Jason's trying to get out. I'm just going to try and keep control. Okay, and try and stay on top. If the top person gets rolled over or the bottom person stands up, stop. Okay, I don't even know why I'm going to say this, but percentage-wise, and everyone goes, oh, my percentage is more, mate. We're looking at about 60%. A little bit of resistance, not going full pelt. No one's going to listen to me, everyone's going to go full pelt. But this is ideally, as a coach, this is what would make me very happy for the remainder of my day if it went 60%, but it's not, so just do whatever you want.